we've got big things going on. There is a crime wave currently in the world of professional wrestling. Brian, you've heard about this. There's people are having brushes with the law, flaunting authority, being taken down, arrested, imprisoned, et cetera, et cetera. There's a few of these things going on. I figure we ought to make mention of just to make sure that the people know it's not safe out there. There's criminals everywhere you look. Apparently, this past week, a dangerous felon has been taken off the streets of Canada. Actually, he was taken off the streets of Canada a few weeks ago, and now apparently he's been released back onto the streets of Canada, but with supervision. Our old friend that we've occasionally made mockery of in the past when he's done something bizarre, Hannibal, his actually real name, apparently, according to the authorities, Devin Nicholson, got arrested. Remember, folks, he's the guy that I think last Christmas time's when it was, for the holiday season, he took a spike and stabbed a referee in the head about 25 times and sent him to the hospital. The guy almost bled out, had to have surgery to close the wounds up to the arteries and things of that nature.
It was his fault.
And that is actually, yes, was that a sound bite from the actual person? You do that so well.
It wasn't my fault. He didn't know how to bleed. I'm the blood hunter.
Well, apparently the blood hunter is not only hunting blood, but he's hunting a rap sheet because now he's been arrested again. What was he arrested for that? They called the cops. The cops were involved, but nobody could agree on a statement. But now he's been arrested, possibly justice delayed.
In his home country this time. That last thing was in Texas.
Yeah, last time I don't think he's darkened the Texas doorstep since then. I think he's stayed out of Texas, but now he apparently is going to have to move to Switzerland or somewhere to get out of this because he was arrested in Ontario for assaulting a woman. Is this what I'm hearing?
I have a report here by Mike Johnson, who was all over this story. He's the one who broke it. PWInsiderElite.com. Devin Hannibal Nicholson, arrested for assault, will stand trial next month. Independent wrestler Devin Hannibal Nicholson will stand trial on October 12th in Kingston, Ontario, Canada, on charges of assaulting a woman last month, PWInsider.com has confirmed. Nicholson has been incarcerated since being arrested and went before the Ontario Court of Justice this morning at 9 a.m. for a bail hearing. For the record, this was posted yesterday on Friday the 9th. His YouTube account shows he was in Kingston on the 20th with his girlfriend. He was originally listed on the court docket for August 29th, so the incident happened within that time frame. Nicholson has been released under the supervision of his parents and must either stay with them or contact them daily, has been ordered to have no contact with the victim, and will have to abide by a nightly curfew. And then it goes into some of the previous incidents of this buffoon's life.
So he's not allowed out after dark, which, especially with Halloween coming up, that's the only day of the week or day of the year that he can go out and feel normal. So that's a shame. But the custody of his parents, is he not like 40 years old?
Somewhere in that range, I would imagine.
So the custody of his parents, is this a Canadian thing because they're so polite, or does this tell you that, as we have suspected in the past, there is something either mental or developmental occurring with Mr. Nicholson, that he needs the supervision of adults, even though he is a 40-something-year-old adult?
Well, what we have seen in the past is just unhinged behavior at various points. I mean, we talk about the Texas incident. We don't know what this story is, to be honest, and to even be fair. You know, it'll come before the court. I mean, we could all suspect different things, but we don't know what's going to happen yet. But it's not like this is it. You know, there have been tales of this guy having problems with all sorts of people throughout the years. He does a lot of work shoots, so people get confused at what's real and what isn't. You know, he's come after you and me at different points, and every time he's ended up looking like a fool.
Well, it's a big deal to him that he gets all these YouTube views, right? That when he sees people getting more YouTube views, he goes ballistic. That's why I'm saying is he on some kind of, or possibly needs to be on some kind of medication that sometimes he gets off of and goes in these spirals. This is a big deal to him, the YouTube thing and the whole 9 yards, and his wrestling persona. Remember Selena De La Renta? He was paying her and paying her trance and paying for an opponent to go to these independent shows so he could work his blood hunter gimmick. And then she blew him off when he bled all over one of her expensive ring outfits, didn't want to pay for that. And I believe the word she used was creep. But he's off. He thinks he legitimately believes that he's a wrestling personality, even though he gives these independent promoters, money and then headaches later, but he doesn't charge them to work, and he pays his managers and he pays his opponents so he can have his fantasy wrestling match and put it on his YouTube channel. And then if somebody brings up the fact that he sucks as a YouTube personality, he goes into a fury. I think there's something going on with the guy.
Oh yeah, remember the first time I ever talked about how awful he was as a YouTube personality, because his voice is death. As Scott Cornish put it, he just got arrested for assault with a deadly weapon. His voice, his speaking voice. But beyond that, when you watch, for at least me, when I watch an interview with someone from wrestling, if I'm going to sit down and watch it, I want the person who's asking the questions to be informed. I don't want it to be someone reading off a list. I don't want it to be someone reading off Wikipedia. I want it to be someone who's actually informed, and he doesn't know anything. I always am entertained by these people who love wrestling, become wrestlers, want to talk wrestling, and know nothing. And that's what happened with him, and I called him out for that. He put up a video. He put up a video of himself. It was audio with a still image of him shirtless with headgear on, doing a double bicep pose, challenging me to either fight him or he's going to sue me. He wanted me to meet him in a parking lot. I'm afraid of what he would want to do to me in a parking lot, this fucking creep. Or he'll sue me. It was the funniest thing, and then I made fun of him again for that, and I kept doing it with that dumb, dull voice that he fucking has from eating too many paint chips. Well, that's true, because,
hey, think about this. First he assaulted a referee. Then he assaulted a woman. And he's also assaulted everybody else's senses with his YouTube clips. So and that's what he does. He'll read off Wikipedia. So I understand you won a title once.
Oh yeah, the thing is, he was one of the first in the door. And when we first started going back and forth with him, he would be like, "Look at my numbers, look at yours." And I looked at his numbers and I realized, wow, at that point, it's like we have a little more than half of his subscribers and views, and we've been around for, I think at that point it was less than a year and a half, and he had like 7 years already. I realized the trajectories, we're going to go past them, and he's going to have a meltdown. And that's exactly what fucking happened.
And then we did, and he did.
Yeah, and that's the thing, his quality, his content, but he was first in the door. It's kind of like, Hannibal's kind of like the Colt Cabana of wrestling YouTube. Because he was doing content. His content got a lot of views because there wasn't a lot of other content out there right now. But the actual quality of the content sucked. The interviews sucked. And it was just, you had to really like wrestling to check it out. And then as soon as other people come with good content, all of a sudden no one checks out your content. And at this point, anyone who just wants to pay a wrestler to sit down and talk with them can get a wrestler to sit down and talk with them and film it over Zoom.
Well, but now the question is he content with his content since he's contained? Is he going to have to do YouTube from his mother's basement and really, really for once be the goddamn stereotype?
He would have to turn off the comments. He would get killed in those comments. Like every single comment would be just calling him out. And he can't deal with that. I mean, there's too many of these guys that stir up shit and then they can't deal with any of the blowback. And it constantly is happening with this guy. And he's been such a troublemaker for such a long time. And too many people have taken his money because everyone in wrestling needs money, obviously. It's a fucking job. But everyone takes fucking people like this, they go to him and they take his money and they talk to him and they almost legitimize him. And then things like this happen. And it's not a surprise to a lot of people. And I don't know, wrestling needs a better quality of human being in it as opposed to just anyone with a few bucks in their pocket.